Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we are doing a request from you guys. So I did do a poll in the community section of my channel. For those of you that voted, thank you guys. And here we are doing some sculpted nails using some forms. So I'm not even gonna lie, I was extremely terrified when I saw everybody wanted me to do forms. I do have a few other videos on my channel already using them, however, it's been a minute. So I am very rusty and I've never been a pro at them, which makes it even worse that I haven't done them in a good while. So we're starting off by prepping my natural nails. For this first step, I'm actually using the tapered bit from Kiara Sky. It is a diamond bit and I'm using this to prep my entire nail. I normally use mandrel bits with a sanding band, but I wanted to go ahead and use this and see how well I liked it. It is the perfect bit to use in place of your sanding bands. So if you do not like having to purchase sanding bands, I feel like this is a really good alternative, and you would just have to purchase these, you know, every once in a while. So I'm using them around my cuticle area and gently pushing back my cuticle, and then I'm just gently buffing off the shine from my natural nail. The really cool part of this is that I can get into those really hard to reach areas. Typically you can't get into that cuticle area very well with the mandrel bit as they are very bulky, but because this one is very tapered and thin at the tip, it makes it very easy. So I'm gonna go ahead and use it and see how I like it. I'll let you guys know in my next video how the retention was product wise. Now remember, for my speed on my e-file, I do have it on my prep for 4,000 RPMs. Now once I switch over to this cuticle ball bit, this one is from Kiara Sky as well. I'm giving it another go as I had a little mishap on my other hand. Check out that video if you guys want to know what I'm talking about. But we're giving it another go on this hand. I now know how to use it and the correct speed and the correct pressure with this specific bit. So everything went really well. I'm using that very gently around that cuticle area to gently buff off the cuticle. I don't do crazy amounts of work on my cuticles just because it's my personal preference. So I just like to use this to lightly buff that off. It basically removes most of that dead skin without having to nip anything off. So I'm just gonna go ahead and finish that. My file is at a speed of 5,000 RPMs for this. Now getting into the fun stuff, I am using the forms from Amazon. I have them linked in my Amazon storefront. They are my favorite. They're really good quality, very inexpensive, and they are super long, which is my preference. Of course, you guys know I like really long nails. So I'm basically prepping it by removing the little sticker from the center, placing that on the back of it, and then we're gonna immediately pinch the tip, and I just try to line it up as best as possible. You want to make sure that that point is right down the center, otherwise your form's gonna be crooked. So I'm just gently putting that underneath my natural nail. I feel like forms work better if you have a little bit of length on your natural nail, but I do not like length, so I try to trim them down as far as possible, and then I just go ahead and place that. It still works really well, but I do feel like if I had a little bit of length, I wouldn't struggle as much to put it on there. So I just went ahead and secured that around my finger, and now I am prepping my nail with the XXX Bond from Not Polish. It is just a primer. And now we're gonna go into our acrylic application. I am using the Not Polish acrylic brush in a size 12. Along with that, I'm using their monomer as well. Now, as far as this really pretty dark nude, I am using Silk Scarf from Not Polish, and I decided to use this one because I wanted to do a really dark nude with a vibrant color up top for the nail art, so it really stood out. So we're starting off by applying a medium-sized bead right where the form meets the natural nail, and then I just quickly start working with a product tucking in the sides. This is basically going to be the shape that your acrylic is going to take, and then I make sure that I blend it out nicely on my natural nail. So the key to using forms, in my opinion, in my unprofessional opinion, because like I said, I'm not a pro at using forms, I like to really focus on my shape when I'm applying it. This is gonna minimize the amount of filing that you do at the end, and it's just so satisfying to see the shape that you can create with your brush and that form. I don't know, it might just be me, but I find it so satisfying. So again, we're taking another medium-sized bead, and per usual, we're gonna be making these nails extremely long. So we're starting off with the second bead and just again tucking in the sides, trying to shape out that acrylic to the shape that I want and blending it into the existing acrylic. And then I'm taking a small bead to finish off that tip. And the reason why I'm taking a small bead is because I like to work with a thin layer as my base. This is gonna essentially work as my tip extension. And then I go in with the bulk product, build up the apex, you know, do the cuticle area and all of that. So again, very carefully tucking in the sides, shaping that. And then I realized that it was a little bit too thin. So I'm going in with another small bead and just thickening up a little bit so that I don't have to worry about adding more afterwards. And then I just like to take the tip of my brush to really push in the tip and kind of square it all off. And then very, very carefully just cleaning up those sides, blending it out. So the really cool part about using the not polished acrylic products is that it makes your life a little bit easier. The product is just so blendable and very easy to work with that for my liking, using it on forms, it is perfect. It's not super runny, so it's not going to go all over the place. It's like the perfect consistency so that you have enough time to shape it, but it also stays put so that you don't have to struggle. So definitely recommend trying out forms with the not polished products if you haven't already. Now we're just working our way back into the cuticle area per usual. And I'm just taking a small bead right there, gently pushing it up into the cuticle area, trying to avoid that sidewall and clean up any little spillage that I may have, and then just gently blending it downwards. So I did want to quickly mention that I do my nails extremely thin, and that is just my personal preference. Of course, with sculpted nails, you do want to build them up a little bit to get that perfect shape, but the reason why I like mine very thin is, one, it's less product that I'm using. Two, I know that that C-curve from the form is going to keep it nice and strong. And three, to be quite honest, it's a really hard thing to soak off, file off, remove nails from my right hand, as that is my dominant hand. So I just prefer to make them nice and thin so that when I do remove them, I don't struggle, because I do change them out quite often. So we're just gonna go ahead and prep our next form, and I do the exact same thing. I put the little sticker on the back of it to give it a little bit more support, pinch the tip, and then quickly go in and place it on my natural nail. Now the thing with these is there are tips and tricks that you can use when placing it on a crooked nail. However, from my opinion, I just go ahead and place it on there straight, and then I kind of tweak the sides to make it straight. So you can see right there where I'm moving it more to the right side, because my finger does curve in slightly to the left. And in my opinion, that works very, very well. I don't have any issues. My nail is long enough so that the product doesn't seep underneath on the left side of my natural nail, so it works very well. So that's basically all that I do. Just kind of move it to whatever side that I want to straighten out that nail. And then again, we're going to be prepping my natural nail with the primer. And going in, once again, with the medium-sized bead, I place it where I want to put it, and I kind of hold it there for a little bit. And then I start working it towards the natural nail part, and then start tucking in the sides, blending it downwards. And again, really just focusing on those sides and shaping out that acrylic. So a really cool part about using forms, and I honestly regret not using forms to begin with on my clients, and not really getting comfortable with them. They honestly terrified me, because you really do have to practice on placing them on different types of nails and really get familiar with them in order for them to look good on different types of nails and hands. So I definitely feel like whenever they want to come in and change their design, you can absolutely just snip off the extra length, file it all the way down to a very thin layer, or remove all the acrylic off of their natural nail, place another form back under there, and go in with the new design and new colors. And it's so much easier than having to file it all the way off, especially when you're working with really long nails. It takes a really long time, and I'm saying this from personal experience. Definitely recommend. If you are looking into using forms, get comfortable with it, offer it. They look so good. The shape is on point. They just look so amazing in my opinion, and like I said, I honestly regret not getting comfortable with them and offering them from the beginning. So I'll definitely be doing forms a lot more often, on myself at least, and we will see how well I progress with them. So I'm just gonna go ahead and finish that acrylic application on that nail, and then we're gonna be moving on. I'm basically doing the exact same thing on the rest of the nails, and as I move closer to my thumb, I always check my other nails to make sure that they're dry, and if they're dry, I go ahead and take off that form, just because it's easier for me to apply the acrylic on the other fingers if I don't have all of those forms on my nails. So again, that's just my personal preference. If you're working on somebody, I'm sure it's not that hard, but on myself, I do like to remove them as they start drying. Again, as I'm going, I'm tapping the other nails to make sure they're dry. Once they do that clicking sound, that is your cue that they are fully dry. So I go ahead and remove that form, and then we're just moving on to my index finger. I went ahead and applied the form since it is pretty repetitive, and I am starting off with my acrylic. Again, medium-sized bead. I basically place it on that form and then start tucking it upwards into the natural nail, and then I start tucking in the sides to create that shape. I'm honestly going for like a basic square shape, and even though they look a little bit tapered in, once I file them, they are gonna look extremely squared. So I'm just gonna go ahead and continue to apply that. Again, tucking in those sides nicely, adding that length, and then building up that acrylic on the rest of the nail. Once everything is nice and dry, go ahead and remove the rest of the forms, and I'm just going in to filing. I like to hand file my sculpted nails. It's so satisfying to me, and I feel like you get a better grip of like how you're filing it with your hand file. So the first step that I do is take my hand file. This is the Tammy Taylor peel and stick file, and as you can see, I'm going horizontally underneath the nail to file it and make sure that it is nice and straight. And the reason why I'm doing this is because when you're using form, sometimes you can get acrylic that goes slightly below the shape that you created. So I just want to make sure that I straighten that out from the get-go, and then we're good to go to shape out the rest of the nail. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on the rest of the nails, and then we're going to go on top of the surface to file it nice and perfect. So another quick little thing that I like to do is hold my finger that I'm filing with the other fingers. So you can tell from this filing process what I'm doing. You don't want your finger to be wiggling all over the place because it can become extremely uncomfortable. So I'm just using one of my other fingers to lightly apply pressure on top so that it stays nice and put while I'm filing. And as you can see, this one I'm using my thumb to kind of stabilize it, and on that one I'm using my middle finger to kind of push it in the opposite way that I'm filing, if that makes sense. I hope it does. So I'm just gonna go ahead and finish that, and then we're gonna be filing that surface. Now, once I get to the surface of the nail, I'm just going vertically up and down, and I continue to look at all angles of that nail. So as you can see, I started filing the surface of it, and then I realized that the bottom needed a little bit more straightening. So I went ahead and filed that, and then I go back to the surface of the nail, and I use my right hand to my advantage. I've talked about this before on my channel, but when I'm using my non-dominant hand to file or really to do anything, I try to assist with my right hand as that's my dominant hand. So I try to hold that file nice and straight and sturdy, and then I use my dominant right hand to do the filing motion up and down, sideways, and all of that because I have better control of my dominant hand. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And then for the cuticle area, I do stabilize my hand and my finger on my little container. And then I'm going in and filing with my non-dominant hand. It just works better if you stabilize your hand. You're not gonna go all over the place, and you're definitely not gonna cut yourself. So those are kind of the two things that I try to stick to, and it really helps a lot with every type of kind of process that you wanna do on your nails. And of course, we cannot forget that tip. So I'm just going horizontally and again, assisting the filing process with my dominant hand. I'm moving that around to make the process go a little bit quicker. And for this step, I'm actually using my left hand as well and kind of using both in the same motion so that it goes a lot quicker. I will say that doing this with your non-dominant hand, you feel like you're doing a great job. And then I like to move my hand away from my face and to really see the shape that I've created. And sometimes I'm like, what is that? Why does that go that way? So always make sure to like look away from afar and really analyze the whole nail and make sure you're doing a good job. So now I'm taking my buffer and I'm filing the top. We're just gonna basically buff it, make it nice and smooth so our nail art application goes on there very neatly. Now we're cleaning the nails with a Kiara Sky Lint Free Wipe and a little bit of Young Nail Swipe, just getting rid of all that excess dust. And then we're gonna be going in with our nail art application. For today's nails, I did decide to do kind of like an abstract neon design, and I am starting off with this neon green from the frosting gel paints from Profiles Backstage. You guys probably already know that I'm obsessed with them, and you guys should be extremely proud of me. I did not forget to top coat before I went in with my nail art. We're going to be doing a sugared effect, so I want to make sure that I'm adding top coat before I go in with the nail art so that I don't struggle afterwards. So I'm going in with the Matte It from Not Polish, my all-time favorite and go-to top coat for matte nails. It is amazing, you guys, and it lasts matte the entire time. So I'm just adding a thin layer of that on the entire surface of every single one of my nails. We're going to be placing that into the light for a full minute. I like to do the 90-second option on my Kiara Sky LED light. Now for this design, I'm taking my Makartt nail art brush. It's my go-to. They are linked in my Amazon storefront, which is in the description box if you guys are interested. But I am basically doing a little point right in the middle, and then we're gonna be doing a deep French kind of design. And I'm just doing a thin line. It's not really thin, it's like a medium thickness line, creating that deep French. And then we're gonna be drawing random nails going down towards the tip. Some are going to be thicker, some are going to be thinner. It's going to be a nice like random little design that we're doing. So again, I'm trying to perfect that. It is extremely hard, you guys, to do things with your non-dominant hand. I don't know what the heck I was thinking with doing some intricate nail art for you guys, but here we are, and I was able to do it with a lot of patience and a lot of breaks in between because I was getting very frustrated. So I went ahead and started doing a random line down, and you can see that it's not perfect at all whatsoever. I feel like that gives it the abstractness that we're kind of going for. And I'm just going based off of that first line that I drew, and I'm going off of it, doing different curved lines, more swirls, and all of that on the rest of that tip.
This is for my day ones. Don't forget the ones I made, yeah. Deep side sweating.
Now, like I mentioned, this was extremely hard for me to do with my non-dominant hand, so I'm basically going to be sharing this nail with you guys, and then I'm going to do the rest off camera and show you guys the end result. So I'm finishing off this nail, and we are sugaring the matching glitter with it. So I'm just kind of scooping that out with my nail and pouring that on the wet gel paint. We're going to be placing that in the light for a full minute. I like to do the 90-second option. And then we're going to be finishing off this set. I'm going to be doing kind of an ombre effect across my nails using different colored of gel paints. I'll leave them all linked down below with the glitters that I'm using as well, since I'm not showing that process with you guys. But that's basically what the nails look like. We're going to be adding some cuticle oil. Of course, this is the Profiles Backstage Goddess cuticle oil, and I'm just applying that on my cuticles, rubbing it in very gently.
This is for my day one, day one. This is for my day one. Don't forget the ones I made, yeah. Deep side sweating out.
But that basically concludes today's video. Let me know what you guys think down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned a ton. Again, I will leave everything linked down below so you guys can check out all of the amazing products that I used. I'll see you guys next time.
Don't need to ask for them to show love, show love. Ooh.